All right, so today is Monday, Memorial Day, May 29, 2023. Welcome to Elite Sports Talk, where we cover everything in sports, whether it's scores, stats, trades, free agency, or anything above that's a hot topic. My name is Chaz.
I'm Charlie.
Nice to meet you guys. This is our very first show. We've been trying to get this going, but ran into a couple technical difficulties, and now we're back on the road.
Excited and ready to go.
Yes, sir. All right. So where are we at? We're just gonna go basketball today for the very first episode. Um. So we've been meaning to get this going a little earlier, but we're starting up now. Conference finals are underway. The Nuggets swept the Lakers. LeBron 4-0'd. I'm not sure. I believe that's probably the first time in his career he was ever swept.
Yeah, and for good reason. I mean, when you look at the Denver Nuggets and you look at everything that they don't have a lot of all-star talent necessarily, but Nikola Jokic just makes everything work.
I,
And
I beg to differ because I would put Jamal Murray as an All Star, along with Jokic, who's a two-time MVP, could have been easily three. So, because Jamal Murray this playoffs is looking like bubble Jamal Murray, and I didn't know if we were ever going to see bubble Jamal Murray again because that bubble Jamal Murray was going shot for shot with Donovan Mitchell.
yes, he was incredible in those playoffs, and it does look like he is back to form. Um, But will he consistently be like this through the finals, which I hope, obviously? And
That's a very, very good question. Jamal Murray is a point guard. So, if you guys run into the Heat, which right now it's tied 3-3, Heat dropped three in a row after being up 3-0. Boston, fourth team in history to force a game seven after being down 3-0. If you guys play the Heat, you're playing a bunch, playoff Jimmy Butler's a dog. He's a real thing.
oh yeah,
But you're playing against a bunch of undrafted players, and you're also playing against a bunch of. It's the Heat are better when they're the underdogs. So when they were the underdogs to start the series against the Celtics, they went 3-0. Then the moment they were favored to finish it, they couldn't finish it, and the Celtics became the underdogs, and they are bad front runners too. Once they became the underdogs, they took over. That's why Game 7 is going to be interesting due to the fact that both teams are better when they're underdogs and they're counted out. But who do you think has the most pressure on them for Game 7?
honestly, I think Boston, because how they've been playing at home in the playoffs is really bad. So I think that they do have the most pressure on them, and Boston is a team that it's weird when they're home and they're not doing great. Their own fans boo them. I mean,
Listen, Boston is a hell of a sports town. They don't play. And also, let's not forget, this is 2023. Boston is very, very upset right now because they had their Boston Bruins lead the NHL with a historical record regular season and then got murked in the playoffs by the Florida Panthers, who barely made it in. So they put all their eggs in one basket for the Boston Celtics, and we'll see how this shapes out because they were up 2-1 last year in the finals against the Warriors, and they choked three in a row down. So this year they were down 3-2 to Philly. Philly wins or loses two, one at home, one on the road. Now they went down 3-0 to Miami. They won three in a row. As you said, they've been bad at home. But at the same time, on the other hand, they've been really good facing elimination this playoff.
and yes, that is true. In those games where they're facing elimination, Jason Tatum is unstoppable. Um, I don't know though. I mean, something is still telling me Miami. And
It's Jimmy Butler effect.
yeah, I mean Jimmy Butler he's got that dog in him. He's got that no die.
Now look, so we have the stats here. This in order? It's in order. Game 1, Miami 123, Boston 116. Jimmy Butler 35 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists in 43 minutes, and he was 12 for 25 from the floor. Bam, 20 points, 8 assists, or 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 for 13 from the floor. That is a very good shooting average. With Caleb Murray and Kyle Lowry both having 15 apiece off the bench. Jason Tatum had 30. Jaylen Brown had 22, and Robin Williams had 14 and 7, with Malcolm Brogdon with 19 off the bench. But they just didn't have enough to get it done. Game 2, 111-105. Game 3, 128-102. Blowout for Miami. That's when Boston's back was against the wall. Boston comes back on a pivotal Game 4 on the road in Miami, steals it 116-99. Then they go home. They get it done 110-97. And then Game 6, Derek White with a putback at the buzzer, 104-103. So how do you feel about that putback? Because they would have ran out of time if they. Joe Mazzulla called timeout, and that gave them the refs the ability to do a replay, and it adjusted the clock, and they put an extra 0.5 of a second. And when they put the extra 0.5 of a second, they literally needed every single tenth of those seconds to get that putback. But if you're Miami and Eric Spoelstra, you got to be very disappointed, because Derek White was the inbounder on that play. So he inbounded the ball, and nobody picked up the inbounder, and he just ran straight to the basket for a putback. Smallest guy on the court.
Yeah. I mean, they had to have known that they only had one or two options. I thought that they were going to try to get the ball to Tatum. But yeah, that was just incredible for White to, have that awareness to just go right to the boards. He's not the tallest guy on the team. He just happened to be in the perfect place at the perfect time. The ball could have bounced a million different ways, and it was just incredible. With 1 second was left when he actually touched the ball, or maybe it was already under a second.
Yeah, were you talking about when he grabbed the rebound or when he released it?
When he grabbed the rebound.
Yes, it was under a second. And then he put it back with, I think it left his hand with 0.2 of a second left. 0.2. Do you know how fast 0.2 of a second is? That is absolutely insane. All they had to do was put a body on a body. When the game comes down to the wire and you're up by 1 score and that shot goes up, if you're on defense, find a body and put your body on them. Yeah. You can't. This is the Eastern Conference Finals. And you can't just expect it to get handed to you. You got to take that. I know Miami has a lot of confidence in every game. They're like, oh, we just got to stop turning the ball over. We just got to play harder. But you're running out of time. This is Game 7 now.
I mean, and I have to go back and look again, because my thing was, where was Bam? Where was Bam at? He should have been right there.
Let's see Bam stats in Game 6.
Which is another thing I wanted to discuss. If Miami wins today,
Bam didn't show up in Game 6. He only had 11 points, 13 rebounds, and he only shot 4 for 16. He only shot 25% from the floor. That's because Bam tries to... Listen, Bam, do what you're good at. Take the ball, go in the paint. Bam, I see you trying to cross people up, trying to do this crazy... Dude, you're a point guard, man. Or you're a center, not a point guard. Stop trying to run the pick and roll roll off the pick and roll and give Jimmy Butler somebody big to dish it to if they step up. That's my only problem with Bam. But let's see. So who do you have winning? Who do you have winning Game 7?
I think.
And seeing how you're a Nuggets fan, let's also. Who do you have winning Game 7? Who would you want to win Game 7? And how do you think the next round's going to shape out?
So, I think it's tough. obviously, if Boston wins, that's going to be the tougher matchup. We don't match up as well against them as we do with Miami. I want Miami to win for that reason, obviously. But also, before I tell you what I think for the next round, I was going to ask you, if Miami wins tonight, we already know what Jimmy's going to do. Jimmy's going to do his thing. Who is the second player that they really need to step up in order to win? I think it's who we were just discussing.
Miami?
Bam.
Yes. Bam is the second key piece because he's the superstar. But they are definitely missing Tyler Hero right now. We need Tyler Hero to come out and be the hero. Game 7.
And is there any possibility of him coming back in the finals if they get there?
I
don't think
I
so.
am not sure. I know he was warming up. We'll see. I haven't heard anything about that yet.
Okay. And
So who do you think's gonna win now? And who do you want to play as a Nuggets fan?
the more competitive series, the series that I think is definitely going to go 7 games, would be if we play Boston. I would rather
As
see
a
Miami.
Nuggets fan, would you rather play Boston and get a competitive series, or do you want that ring?
I want that ring for sure. I want to play Miami. If Miami wins tonight, I'm saying it right here, right now. Denver will win the series in 5 or 6 games.
I see. Here's the thing. I would say I agree with you, but again, as I said earlier, Miami is good when they're doubted and they're the underdog.
True. But another reason why I don't want to see Boston is because I seen how Horford and Robert Williams played Embiid. Now, Embiid is not the same player that Jokic is. Jokic has a little bit of a better handle. He's going to pass the ball out when he gets double teamed. But that still kind of scares me. When it comes to Miami, I don't think there's a lot that Bam can really do to stop Jokic. And I don't know.
I'm not sure there's much most people can do to stop a Jokic.
Oh, yeah, but that double team from Boston, that would be something for Jokic to. Well, I mean, he just seen, AD.
I
so-
will say this, though. As we've seen from this playoffs, if I'm Eric Spoelstra in the Miami Heat or Boston, whoever makes it, I will say I would much rather make Jokic score than be the assist maker. We've already seen he can score, but Denver tends to lose those high scoring. When Jokic is dropping 30, they tend to drop those games. They're much better of an efficient team when he's passing the rock around and getting everybody involved.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we're gonna have to do going forward. If we can rely on Murray to keep taking the load that he's been taking, then I think we'll be okay. Even if Jokic does have games where he scores 30
I believe
plus, but
I believe the team will go as far as Jamal Murray takes them. I know Jokic is the MVP, but Jamal Murray is the catalyst that makes this thing go. He's the glue that keeps the whole thing together because he is the point guard and the primary ball handler and the scorer for this team when they need something. Jokic runs the offense, and you have Aaron Gordon, you have Michael Porter Jr., you have
people are sleeping on Bruce Brown too. Bruce Brown helps everything.
Bruce Brown has been a dog this playoffs, bro.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's not your Jimmy Butler, but you know. Now, the most inconsistent player this playoffs that I had to say is, by far, who do you think the most inconsistent player in this playoff is, excluding...
Embiid? No.
No, I'm talking about out of the final 4 teams. Because I think there's one... If you take away Anthony Davis, I think there's one clear player. And I had to go Jason Tatum. Dude, I've seen him have historically bad halves. And then I've seen him have historically crazy scoring halves too. I've seen him on both ends of the spectrum, black and white, balling and playing terrible in the same game. Especially with the Sixers, the one game and a half. What was that? Game 6?
That's what I was just gonna say. How he ended the game and he made like 3 consecutive
Yes,
plays.
yes. And then came out. Then it came out. Game 7 dropped over 50.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree. 100%. It is Tatum.
I will say one thing. As a Sixers fan, Jason Tatum should be in the red, white, and blue. We went Markelle Fultz, man. Who does that? That was the biggest mistake. And Jimmy Butler should still be in the red, white, and blue. We would have a championship right now. Instead, they went bum Ben Simmons over Jimmy Butler, which was an absolute mistake. They're talking about we added PJ Tucker for toughness. Dude, PJ Tucker.
He's tough, but he's old.
PJ Tucker is a dog, but that doesn't make everybody else tough. They can't. Jimmy Butler was the one to keep. If we would have ran that back the next year with Jimmy Butler, and we had Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Maxey, Melton, and then we had the players we have coming off the bench, I believe we definitely would have passed Boston this year with Jimmy Butler on that squad.
And I love James Harden. I've always been a big fan of Harden, but I think that Butler would have made more sense for that team than Harden. I mean, Harden won 2 games for them. He had, over 40 points twice in the last series.
I think 46 and 45.
So I think if you would have had Butler with Embiid, and especially in that last game where Embiid didn't really show up, Butler would have got the job done for
him. So here's the thing. Harden wants $100 million for 3 or 4 years. Now, obviously the GM was there with him in Houston.
Mm-hmm. That's why he's so comfortable.
So I think he's gonna get it. But here's the thing. Did we see as far as this team's gonna go? Because Harden's not getting any younger. Do you think he's gonna be a better player next year?
I think that he just wants to go back to Houston. He sees the young talent, and he'll be the main veteran, so he'll get to do things how he wants to do it. He won't have to just be the assist guy.
So you think he's out of Philly?
I think it would take a lot to keep him in Philly. I'll say that. But no, I don't think he's gonna stay. I think it's gonna be a little too much.
I mean, if I'm Houston though, why are you gonna bring a James Harden to Houston? You have Jalen Green. I'm not trying to stunt his growth. I mean, Jalen Green to learn under James Harden would be fantastic, but you're gonna take minutes away from Jalen Green, and Jalen Green is a dog, man. I'm telling you, that Houston team is loaded. They got. The team is loaded. They got so many juniors. They got Kevin Porter Jr. They got Jalen Green. They got they've got 4 juniors on that team, and the center Alperen Sengun.
I don't know a lot about him, but he looks like he's gonna be.
Oh, he's decent. He's decent. But anyway, let's get back to this. How do you feel about LeBron taking the shine away from the Nuggets after the series was over, talking about retiring so the media, instead of worrying about, Denver's first time back in the finals in 50 years, they're talking about LeBron retiring.
I don't like that. I do like the fact that LeBron was man enough to be honest and tip his hat to Jokic. That was cool.
Yep.
But the way that he ended that conference talking about retirement, he knew what he was doing. He wanted the story to still be around him and the Lakers. And if you look at the Denver Nuggets, and, obviously we're not a big market team, they don't really get a lot of media. And now I'm starting to think that they kind of like it that way.
I mean, Denver's not a small market, but it's not a major market either.
Okay, so yeah. But I think that they actually don't really love a lot of media attention around them anyhow. I think that's actually one of the reasons why we traded Bones Highland in the middle of the season. So
Good point.
I guess it's not a terrible thing.
If I'm Bones Highland, I'm feeling pretty bad about myself right now. The fact that I got traded because I said I should have started over Jamal Murray, because Jamal Murray is that dude. He's finally back from injury. He is back on his grizzy.
And let me just say, I'm from New Jersey, so I'm closer to the Philly area. I actually went to a game last year and seen Bones Highland in person.
Did you?
He can really turn it on, man. He can get hot. I seen him make 3 or 4 threes in a row. I wish that they could have worked it out, that he could have stayed. And the best to him and the Clippers going forward. But right now, it's about the people that are on the Denver Nuggets.
Yes, sir.
And I feel really good, man. I mean, Jokic, who is not by any means a 3-point shooter, the last round, man, he was shooting almost 50% from three.
That's because he's efficient.
Yes,
Jokic is one of the most efficient scorers in the game.
definitely.
He's one of the most efficient players in the game. Now, I tend to think triple doubles is a little overrated stat. Like when Russell Westbrook averaged triple double 4 seasons in a row. I don't know if Jokic isn't going to catch that. I don't think he will ever pass Russell Westbrook with 5 triple double seasons in a row. But anyway, I think the stat is a little inflated. But I think Jokic's numbers aren't actually, for compared to everyone else, I think Jokic's numbers aren't actually inflated because I think his triple doubles are more impactful in the game than Russell Westbrook's.
And that's the whole thing, is that there was a stat in the regular season up until there was maybe 12 games left. Jokic had the Nuggets undefeated whenever he would get a triple-double. That ended up ending, like I said, about 12 games out before the playoffs started. But you even look at the playoffs. I mean, I think he had 4 consecutive games with triple-doubles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, it's different than Russell Westbrook's triple-doubles. For Jokic to get triple-doubles, it's almost like we're going to win almost every single time he does that.
For the most part, it seems that way.
And we have just underrated role players, man. I mean,
So
KCP.
let's break it down for the people real quick. Game 7, Celtics or Heat?
Miami.
Okay. I am probably gonna go. Because Jimmy's showing up tonight. I think Miami. I'm gonna go Boston,
Okay.
but if Miami shooters come to play, it's a wrap. Because if we have Max Strus, if I have Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, all hitting threes, I think it's a wrap. Especially if Kevin Love is having a good night. I don't know if Boston's gonna be able to keep up. But they definitely fucked up Game 6 because in Game 6, or with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, Jaylen Brown picked up his 4th foul. Now, if Eric Spoelstra, because Joe Mazzulla decided to keep him in the game, and he dropped 6 points, 8 total in the third, and then dropped, I think, 7 more in the fourth, or 9 more in the fourth. If I'm Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler, I'm putting Jaylen Brown in that pick and roll every time down the floor, trying to cause him to pick up that 5th foul, because then he's 1 away from the game. You put him in that pick and roll action, make him decide whether he's going to play defense or give up the bucket, and then that's also going to take away from him on the offensive end, because he's the one that was keeping them in that when their offense stagnated. And I just think that was a big mistake, and that they made that on their home court. Now they have to go to Boston. So we'll see what happens with Game 7 tonight.
I will say it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be like a 10.
No. Jimmy Butler won't let that happen. It's not going to be a runaway. Boston, there's no way Boston's going to run away with it. Jimmy Butler will not allow that to happen.
But at the same time, if Boston can somehow do what they did in I think it was Game 5 actually, where they had 4 people over 20 points, it's going to be Boston. I mean, I don't think that'll happen again tonight.
Again, me and you've had this conversation before. Boston is the deepest team in all of the NBA. Their bench, like to have Brogdon and to have Derek White coming off your bench is deep. And don't forget, they don't even go this deep because it's the playoffs, but they still have Gallinari, Blake Griffin, Mike Muscala, Peyton Pritchard. They have a lot of people on that bench.
Yeah, whatever happened to Pritchard?
Peyton Pritchard got, in game one he got 2 minutes. I mean, I was only a 7-point game, so he got a couple minutes at the end, but the Peyton Pritchard doesn't get that many minutes because they have Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. So, but don't want to touch the NBA Finals yet because of the fact that we don't know who it's going to be to the end of tonight. So we will have
it will be Miami.
we will have the next show come out soon, but I do have a couple more NBA topics I want to touch up before we wrap this show up.
Okay.
All right. One, if you are the Lakers, do you go Kyrie Irving or do you go Trae Young?
If I'm in upper management,
And to make that move, are you getting rid of D'Angelo Russell?
if I'm Jeannie Buss, I look at it from this perspective. I understand what Kyrie brings to the plate. I understand how great he is. But it just seems like things just don't work out for him every time he tries to go to a new team. So, for that purpose and that purpose only, if it's between the two of them, not talking about D'Angelo, just between Trae Young and Kyrie, I would probably go Trae Young.
Ooh, interesting. Why is that?
It's something
That's
new,
very interesting due to the fact that Kyrie and LeBron have already won chips together.
and that's true. But again, you want somebody that you're going to rely upon. I mean, LeBron misses a lot of time through the season being hurt a lot.
Trae Young is younger,
He's
and
younger.
Kyrie tends to fly off the handle at times.
That too, and AD. So if you have AD, LeBron, and Kyrie who all wind up getting hurt or have all kinds of different issues. I mean, regular season's regular season. We've seen what they did this year. They didn't have a great record.
Yes, sir.
And they came back when it mattered.
Yep.
But I just think Trae Young will give them a fresh element. I just like Trae Young, man. A lot of people don't like Trae Young. I see a lot of potential in him.
Trae Young can ball, man. Trae Young can definitely ball. The only thing is, if Trae Young goes to the Lakers, the reason I like Kyrie is I think Kyrie's a little more of an efficient scorer. And the only thing about Trae Young going to the Lakers is Trae Young can't be jacking up shots. He's gonna have to take good shots because you have to feed AD and LeBron. You can't just come up the court and gun threes. You know what I mean?
I don't think you would have a problem with that there with AD and LeBron because he hasn't had anybody even close to that in Atlanta all the time he's been there. But I do agree with what you just said. Yes, absolutely.
Next topic. So the Suns got rid of Monty Williams, and DeAndre Ayton had a terrible series. 1, do you think the firing was justified? And 2, do you think DeAndre Ayton's time is done as a Sun? And then lastly, do you believe the Suns, now that, because they didn't put that much time together with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and Kevin Durant, do you think that they have a chance to win a championship next year? 3-part question.
I like Monty Williams. I don't think it was his time yet. I think they should have given him at least one more season. They didn't get KD until towards the end of the season.
And he missed a lot of time.
And yeah, he only played, I think, like 11 or 12 games, maybe. It's a shame that Chris Paul got hurt. I think that's also one of the reasons. But I would not take DeAndre Ayton back. You need to get rid of him. I don't think that they should have paid him the money that they paid him before. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. He does not fit with them at this point. They need somebody else. But I think Monty, they should have gave him one more year. I want to see what happens with Chris Paul. That'll be the telltale for me. If Chris Paul leaves or if they pay him in a sign and trade.
Best point guard to still never get a chip.
And that's why you got to feel for them, man. But if Chris Paul leaves, even with just Booker and KD, they're not gonna win next year, in my opinion. They need
I
something.
mean,
They
I
need
will
more,
say the West is more open than it's ever been before.
which is true. But who do you think is
Most of the
gonna?
time in the NBA, you can guess from the beginning of the season who's gonna come out on top of the West or the East, who the front runner is, and or at least the secondary team. Right now, it's wide open. I mean, the Nuggets won, but I feel like if you did the whole playoffs all over again, it could have shook out completely differently.
And you would have never thought that the Warriors would have been the 6th seed,
Yup.
the Suns would have been the 5 seed, and the
Warriors.
Lakers would have been the
Warriors.
7th.
Best team ever to have, not best team ever, but one of the craziest seasons ever is to have that huge of a difference on a home road split. That was insane. How good they were at home and how terrible they were on the road. And then it's also wild that they were that bad on the road and then pulled two away from the Kings in their building.
And they were so
And the
close to
Kings,
losing.
the Kings are going to be, watch out for them next year because they're going to be another year older. And that is a young team, up and coming. Keegan Murray, Kevin Herter, De'Aaron Fox, DeMontis Sabonis. That team is deep, man. Let's see what else we got. How do you feel about let's talk a little Grizzlies. Let's talk a little Grizzlies. So Dylan Brooks is gone.
Bummer.
Dylan Brooks makes me mad. I don't mind. I just wonder if a team's gonna pick him up. I mean, he's definitely good enough to get picked up. I don't think he's a starter by any means anymore. Not that he got any worse or any better. I'm just saying. I don't think when he goes to another team, he will be a starter off the rip. He is one of the best defenders in the league, but his shot has just gone backwards as of lately. And John Morant fumbled the bag, man. How do you meet with the commissioner after going on Instagram Live with a gun? The commissioner comes all the way across the country to see you. You tell him you understand the mistakes that you made. Won't happen again. Blah, 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 blah. Tell him what he wants to hear. You take 10 days away. I don't know what 10 days is going to do. And I don't know how you're going to rehab for a gun, which is kind of crazy. But not even a month later does it all over again. If you're the commissioner, how long do you give him?
A year.
A year?
A year minimum.
I don't think you can give him multiple years, but I think a year's. I don't think you can give him 20 games. I think a year is good too. I think a year. And if you're the Grizzlies organization, do you keep him? Because I will tell you, if the Grizzlies give up on him, another team will pick him up because of that talent.
Well, here's the crazy thing that we actually talked about before that we noticed in the past 2 years with Memphis in the playoffs. If he's hurt and he's not there, it still seems like they're just as good sometimes, as a whole unit without him. I'm not saying that means that you should trade him because the potential of him, he's still young. He's got years ahead of him. They got to figure this thing out. He's got to go, and if he needs some kind of try to get help, try to talk to someone.
I don't believe I've ever seen anything quite like this story. I've seen players get caught with guns or get caught selling drugs and stuff like that. But this guy did the same thing not even a month later, which is absolutely insane when he knew what he was facing and he's about to get paid, man. That'll change your life, $200 million. Dude, if you're willing to throw that away, John Morant, give it to me. I'll take the bag. Shit.
Yeah, right?
I'll run point guard for the Grizzlies, bro. I mean, John Morant needs to put the gun down and put up the threes because he is the most athletic point guard I have seen since young Russell Westbrook. And if he works on that jump shot and becomes even a 40% three-point shooter, dude, that will open the entire floor for him and his team.
Absolutely. And, I mean, it's a shame because, who knows? Back in the day before social media was a thing,
Yep.
a lot of kids may have started their careers doing stuff like this, but now you're gonna see it, man. You gotta be smart. I mean, I'm not telling you to keep doing it and don't go on social media, but you just have to be aware, man. You got a good thing going for you, like you just said. You got money coming, man.
Yep.
You got to do what you got to do right now to stay on that court. Your team needs you. And if not Memphis, whatever team you go to, they need you, man.
Absolutely not even life changing money. I'm talking about generations on generations will be taken care of for your family with that kind of money. And to just to just throw it away is absolutely insane. John Morant, you need to stop. That's all I'm saying.
We're rooting for you, man. Elite Sports Talk, we want to see you do good. We want to see you take those Memphis Grizzlies to where my Nuggets are right now.
Yeah, listen, man. I run with the Grizzlies in 2K, and I be yamming on people, man. But anyway, um, that's all for today. Memorial Day on May 29, 2023. This was Elite Sports Talk. Chaz and Charlie out.
Have a good one, man.